Welcome to the 2020 More Wrestling Virtual Awards for the men's and ladies high school teams.
Our high school coaches this year, of course, me, Coach Mike Thomas. This is my 17th year as a head coach at Moore. Assistant Coach Rob Wright right here. This is his 5th year with us. We picked up this year Coach Tom McKenna. He's a longtime friend of mine. This was his first year with the program. He formerly coached as a head coach at Aircoys. He was also assistant at DeSales. And then Coach Chad Gayhather. This is his first year. He's from Union County. And then Spencer Harper is our head middle school coach. This is his 2nd year of the program, and he helps us at the end of the year when the middle school season is over. As far as what we did with high school this year, we had an 8-6 dual meet record. We placed 3rd at the Clash of the Claw at Doss. This year we were 5th in the city. We were 3rd place at our sectional duels. We wrestled in the Michael Hershenrader Jr. tournament. That was a tournament that Mel hosts every year. We won that championship. In a regional tournament, we placed 3rd, and in state, we placed 17th. Going into this season, we lost about 8 or 9 seniors, right?
Including 4 state placers.
So we lost 4 state placers last year, about 8 seniors. And our goal, we finished 10th last year. Our goal this year was a top 20 finish. We placed 17th, so we accomplished that goal with a pretty young team. This year we had 7 seniors, so we lose. The last 2 years we've lost quite a few wrestlers. At Doss, this is a photo there, 3rd place, early season tournament, very first tournament of the year, duels format. Team wrestled well.
I came in late after the girls wrestled their first ever tournament at Woodford County. But they got to come in at the very end and watch the last couple duels with the boys.
City tournament, we placed 5th this year. Last year we were the tournament champions. This year we came in 5th place. We had 2 champions, Jeremiah won 182, and then they had a small ladies city championship tournament. And then Allie won the 220 weight class. She won her city championship.
We had 3 finalists in total at that tournament. Charlie McCune, Nate Wright, and Jeremiah Harlan all made the finals for the boys. Plus Allie winning the round robin format for the girls.
The male tournament, this photo there, Michael Hershenrader tournament.
It was a fun sort of flashback to the old school type of tournaments where it wasn't on track. So you would sit and wait for the team score to be announced by the tournament director. And it was fun to kind of see all the kids who are used to track, seeing everybody living that tension that the coaches experienced back in their competition days.
The tournament was also great because it was the end of the year tournament, and they allowed a lot of our second team guys to wrestle. So we got to let a lot of those JV or second team guys got opportunities to wrestle as well. Region tournament, we placed 3rd. Just about every year, we're right up there, top 3. We're still working on building our program to bring home a regional championship. Which we've got a really young team, so in the next few years we'll make a run for it. But it was a good tournament, placed 3rd. How many region champs do we have?
I think we had 3 region champs. Charlie, Nate, and Jeremiah all won the region. We had several other region runner-ups. Rudy Rojas finished 2nd. Brody McCune finished 2nd.
High school state tournament, like we said, we placed 17th. We came home with 2 all-state wrestlers, Nate Wright and Charlie McCune. Nate placed 5th at 170, and then Charlie McCune, as a freshman, was a runner-up at the 132-pound weight class. Wrestled a very, very good tournament.
Pinned his way into the finals, which is very rare.
So there's all-state Charlie McCune. 2nd place, 132. Like Coach Wright said, it was an outstanding tournament. We thought he was going to place, but truthfully, he went beyond our expectations, and he was smashing everybody, guys who were seniors. And like I said, he's only a freshman.
Yeah. Got a lot of attention throughout the entire state. A lot of people were amazed watching him pin his way to the finals as a freshman.
And then Nate Wright at 170 placed 5th. So he wrestled a very good tournament, ran into a couple of tough guys. And then his 5th place match was a great one. Kind of rivalry match, St. X wrestler that he had wrestled off and on this season, and the kid that got the better of him the first 2 times they had wrestled. And then the last, 2-3 times Nate wrestled him, beat him?
I think it was the last 3 times he beat Merritt, and it was also that was a rivalry going back to when Everett Merritt beat Nate Wright at JV State back in Nate's sophomore year.
All right, so that was an important match for Nate, and he was very proud of himself. It's always great to lead. If you don't place first, you don't win a championship. It's not going to happen for everybody. But to get that 3rd or 5th place or 7th place match to leave winning always feels great. These are our managers this year. We had, of course, Anissa. She's been with us for a while. She's a great manager, great leader for these other girls. The other 2 girls at the edge here, Savannah Shields and Carly Thomas, they're both first-year managers. They're 8th graders. So they'll be with us for the next 4 years. Boo Boo, or Brianna Bronger, is a junior, and she has the wrestling uniform on because she started as a manager, and then she decided she wanted to wrestle. So we figured that would happen. We talked about that at the beginning of the year, that some of these ladies who are wrestling managers will be watching the ladies in practice and probably think, why not? If they can do it, I can do it too. So she was one of those girls. So we think in the future that a lot of the wrestling managers, or a lot of the female wrestlers, may start out as managers and possibly transition to wrestlers. A few photos of our ladies team. The bottom one, Courier Journal come out and did a article about high school wrestling, ladies wrestling across the state, and we were featured. Maria Martinez was on the front cover of the Courier, but they come out and talked to our ladies, interviewed a few of them, had a really good article in the paper. They went and talked to Central High School, who won the state championship this year in ladies wrestling. Interviewed a lot of those girls too. So it was a very good article about ladies wrestling and the growth of that. This was the 2nd year they had the state tournament. Picture up here, Coach Wright at the state tournament. You want to talk about the ladies team this year, Coach Wright?
Yep, I was the head coach for the ladies team this year, assisted by alumni Alex Rivera. We had 2 state placers. Allie Porter finished 2nd, and Ashley Zinka finished 3rd. But the whole team just really did really well. I was really impressed, especially considering we only came into this year with 1 returning wrestler in Maria Martinez. But the rest of the ladies on the team learned very, very quickly, developed a lot, was very proud of them. And just sort of seeing them accept this role as the pioneering first ladies team for Moore, and sort of recognizing the importance of that.
Yeah, I didn't go with the ladies to the events. I went with Maria last year to the state tournament. But like I said, Coach Wright was the head girls coach this year, so he went to all the events with the ladies. But they practiced with us, and what I've seen is similar to what I've seen in powerlifting, is that a lot of females are kind of their confidence is not real high as far as strength goes. Right? So in the weight room, they kind of got low confidence, and you've got to tell them you can do it. And it's awesome to watch these ladies understand that they are strong just like the guys. So to see that in the weight room and then on the wrestling team was pretty awesome. So thanks to Coach Wright for leading these girls, and I think we're going to have in the future a very good ladies team. I think this year we've watched other programs across the state. They start off with small numbers. The other girls in the school see that they had some success, and then they come out the following year. So we think we'll up our numbers pretty big next year.
And I just want to, again, kind of building off of that, I pretty much said in day 1 that I wasn't going to let any girl say they can't do something that everybody else did. And even on the very first day, we had some lady wrestlers that were too scared to even just do the same warm-up as the guys. But by the end of the year, they are the same amount of expert in the warm-up as the guys are. It's just understanding that they're just as capable. We have Ashley Zinka, a freshman who wrestled 113 for the girls and the boys. She was the champion at the ladies gladiator tournament. She finished 3rd at the male tournament, again wrestling the boys, 3rd at girls state, and she finished 5th at the guys regional tournament. She was also a very good goalkeeper for the ladies soccer team and was also on the powerlifting team. Raylan Wofford was finished 2nd at the city tournament. Had very good practice attendance. We always be able to rely on her to show up to practice. Alejandra Anca was a a sophomore at 126 pounds. Again, one of those wrestlers that at the start of the year was a little hesitant in believing that she was capable of doing everything that everybody else was doing, but by the end of the year, did not question herself and being able to do any of the warm-ups or techniques as anybody else. Also a member of the ladies soccer team, the powerlifting team, mock trial, and is a student ambassador for more. Violeta Lamas unfortunately got injured at her very first tournament, but she did very well, finishing, it was a round robin, but I want to say she finished second. Actually, the first girl this season to wrestle. And it was a great moment where she's sitting there very, very nervous. And she says, all I'm going to do, I can cradle, I'm going to cradle, I'm going to cradle. And she goes out and cradles her opponent. You even see there the pin that she probably put on her sweatshirt. And she said the whole time, all she thought about was doing that cradle. So hopefully after her shoulder recovers, I look forward to her continued progress into her junior year. Also a member of the mock trial team. Brianna Bronger pulled double duty as a manager and a wrestler. Actually got her first ever tournament at the girls' state tournament. Did very well. Also has a sister on our elementary school team. Actually, no, she's in middle school now. And is going to be also a very fine wrestler in her own right. Brianna also is in the drama club, and I look forward to seeing how she does her senior year with a full year under her belt. Takara Dean finished third at the city tournament, was also very good for practice attendance, often showed up, always willing to put the work in, made the cut down to 106 pounds. Also competed in cross country, was in the powerlifting team, track and field, HOSA, and a member of the school's Young Women of Excellence. Maria Martinez, our only returner for the year, so had to pull sort of the veteran leadership for the other girls, since one of the things she would like to do, especially at the first tournament, she goes, I'm Mother Duck, come along my ducklings, I'll show you what we're doing. Had wrestled very well at the girls' state tournament, kind of had confidence issues throughout the year, but really turned it on at the state tournament, including one of the best sweep single finishes I've seen from any member of our wrestling program in the past couple of years, to the point that there's even boys sitting there watching the tournament started cheering and screaming and saying, good job, that's a great sweep single. That's just how good it was. I greatly look forward to seeing how she finishes out her senior year. Also a member of the ladies soccer team, and it's fun to watch her out there because she's such an intense, hard worker. Really has that intense work ethic, and also sometimes scares me when she gets hurt and you don't know how hurt she is, because Maria will refuse to ever admit she's in pain. And our only senior this year was Allie Porter, who won the city tournament and finished second at the girls' state tournament. Really an example of an amazing talent with constant confidence issues, constantly having to remind Allie just how great of a wrestler she is. And she really showed it, the ability to just move through her bracket. One of the larger brackets of the girls' state tournament was the 220 bracket, and still making her way into the finals. Has a very promising college career ahead of her. Also played softball, was a member of the National Honor Society, and a member of the Senior Student Council.
The ladies, I had the pleasure of having most of these girls, I think every single one of them except for Brianna, was in my weightlifting class. And as you notice, a lot of them also did powerlifting. All right, so we've got 1, 2 freshmen, a couple of sophomores, and a junior, 2 juniors, or 3 juniors, sorry. So we got everybody back, like Coach said, except for Allie Porter. So we look forward to adding some other. I know we got a couple of girls coming in as freshmen that plan on wrestling. So we're looking to grow our numbers and possibly finish with close to 20 next year would be a go for us. This is year 45. I did the math. First wrestling season was 1971, 1972 and more. So this is the 45th team we've had in our school's history. So use this image right here of the guys that qualified for state. So I'll go ahead and knock this down so you can see Brody's name there. But these are our state qualifiers this year. We had this made into a banner. Line Drive Photography, I'll go ahead and give them a plug. They've done our photos this year. So all the photos of these guys right here and the photos you've been seeing on the slideshow, just about every single one of those come from Line Drive Photography. All right, so they do a good job if you're thinking about getting some photos. team photos, whatnot, contact them. Our middle school wrestlers who wrestled on the high school team this year. 7th grader Brody McCune, older brother Charlie McCune, freshman. So Brody wrestled 106 for us this year. As far as his success, accomplishments, 3rd at Valley main event, 3rd at the city tournament as a 7th grader, 2nd at the Mel tournament, and 2nd at regionals. So he advanced to state. Coach Wright?
It's kind of tough to come up in wrestle high school, especially as a 7th grader, because your body is not quite as developed. Brody did a very good job, someone who improved a lot throughout the season. Even won a match at the state tournament, which is, again, very rare for a 7th grader to be able to do, and will really be a leader, especially for the middle school team next year in his 8th grade year, and someone who has a very promising high school career ahead of him.
Our other middle school wrestler was Malachi Harris. And last year he also got some high school wrestling matches in, quite a few of them actually. His 4th at the city tournament this year and 3rd at the regional tournament. All right, and Malachi is very good mat wrestler. So he'd be in some very tough positions and was able to scroll out, and we counted on him if we got the match on the mat that he would be able to get a finish for us.
One of the better top wrestlers on the team, even just as a middle schooler. We didn't get to have him for most of the year. He had, unfortunately, had an injury at the very start of the year that kept him out until late December. His first high school tournament was at GMVWA, and he did very well at it, won a couple matches, looked very good on top while he was wrestling, and is going to be one of the wrestlers we look to guide and lead going into his high school career.
On to our freshman, Will Bowen. Played football this year. He also runs track after the wrestling season. But he was a surprise. He was in my class, came out, had an injury during football, I think broke his collarbone. So he came out after that, healed up, and did really well as a freshman. Probably had the best record of any of our rookies. He was 5th at the Gladiator tournament, and he finished 4th at the JV state tournament.
Impressive talent, learned quite a bit as the year went by. Very, very competitive. Wants to be up there with people who've been wrestling for years, and has that sort of drive and work ethic to want to reach that level in the short amount of time he actually was able to wrestle coming in after football.
Next wrestler is Corey Gordney, freshman, 106 pounds. Corey is a very aggressive wrestler. He came out at the very beginning of the season this year, right at October 15th date. It was a little bit of an undersized 106, but at the same time, we told him, if you're undersized 106, you're probably going to finish undersized in high school. So he'll probably be a lightweight wrestler all the way through, possibly finish at a 113, maybe a 120. And we look forward to him having a very good career. Like I said, very aggressive. Also another one, very competitive.
As you gain experience and technique over time, he's going to be a very, very good lightweight, especially going to his junior and senior year, because he's going to have that level of experience that 106s and potentially 113s don't usually see.
Charlie McCune. So Charlie McCune came out his 6th grade year. He's one of those sixth grade starters, potential to be a Michael Award winner. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So this year his stats, 2nd in pins, 2nd in takedowns. He placed in every tournament that we went to. 4th at the Royal Raider Rumble, 1st at Jeff Classic, 6th at the GMVWA in Dayton, Ohio, which is a very tough tournament we go to around the holiday every year. 3rd at Valley main event, 2nd at city tournament, 1st at Mel tournament, 1st at regionals. And then like we discussed earlier, 2nd at the state tournament.
Charlie was someone that kind of improved and bounds every single time he was on the mat. Tournament by tournament, he would continue to shore up his weaknesses, build on his strengths, to eventually culminate in that amazing run at the state tournament, which if you had said that at the very start of the season, nobody would have believed you. But Charlie is just someone who has a sort of work ethic that he believes each time he steps on the mat, he is better than the previous time he stepped on it.
Eli Schuler. Eli was introduced to Eli at a jiu-jitsu event by a friend of mine. Brought him and his parents up to me and said he was going to be attending more. And then, of course, I said, well, you're going to wrestle because you do jiu-jitsu, so why would you not? And then he came out, this year and had a very good year. Works very hard. We went to the JV regionals, and he had a very good tournament that day and wrestled very tough. So he's learning quickly. We look forward to 4 years with Eli here. His mother was a wrestling manager years ago, which was awesome. Hear more.
Someone who still, you kind of see the jiu-jitsu instincts, especially when he's on the mat. Someone who, once he learns to blend his jiu-jitsu with his wrestling, is going to be a very dangerous mat wrestler. Also benefits from his unique body type in that he's a very tall, lanky guy. And once you learn how to utilize that, it can be very frustrating for other wrestlers to deal with.
Brian Stires, freshman 160. He's wrestled on the middle school team. He also did powerlifting with us this year. So Brian got injured early in the season, but he showed some very good flashes right at the beginning. We were very impressed with his work ethic and his toughness as a freshman. So hopefully get him healed up real good. He was able to finish. He powerlifted me in the right at the beginning of the spring. So we think he's ready to go for his sophomore year, and we're looking forward to 3 more years of Brian.
Brian was somebody that stuck out to Coach Thomas and I during conditioning, was really up there as a freshman, his first time doing high school conditioning, staying up there with a lot of the returning upperclassmen. It was kind of, in a sense, sort of the conditioning MVP, and was very impressive in that. It's a shame we didn't get to see him much his freshman year, but if he continues that work ethic, he has a very good career moving forward.
On to our sophomores. Tristan Cothran, co-ran, sophomore, 152 pounds, placed 5th at the regional tournament. Tristan has wrestled with us since his middle school, 8th grade year, I think, was the first year he came out.
Yeah, 8th grade.
And he does powerlifting as well with me. Tristan's a very good leader. He's in junior ROTC there, so he uses leadership skills he's learned from that program. And we think the next 2 years he'll step up even more into a leadership position. And we think we've got some good young leaders on our team. And he's definitely one of those top guys.
Tristan, again, like Coach Thomas said, very effective leader, definitely stepped into a leadership role as a sophomore, which is not very common, but he did very well with it. Had his ups and downs in the season. Started to reach his potential at the regional tournament. Has a judo background, just needs to embrace confidence in his throws, and someone who has all the intangibles. And once he builds that confidence in his wrestling, Tristan's going to be one of our better wrestlers next year.
Seth Gerald, he came out in middle school, wrestled 1 year, I believe, back then.
Wrestled 1 year, 6th grade, and a little bit of 7th grade.
All right, so he was a 160 this year. We've got a lot of, the last couple of years, we've had some really good wrestlers. So a lot of these guys have kind of been playing that role, learning behind them, which is great. And I tell them all the time, the top programs in the state, they have guys that are behind other top guys. And it's, you're going to, all of a sudden, after those guys graduate, you're the man now, and you pop out, and sometimes they don't even know who you are. And then you surprise them. So Tristan and Seth and a lot of these guys and these upper weights that have been behind, like Alex Rivera and Isaiah Newberry and Nate Wright and all those guys the last few years, we look forward to a lot of things out of these guys, their junior and senior years. So he's one of those guys, very hard-nosed, football player, linebacker, but 6th at the Gladiator, 6th at the regional tournament. At the end of the year, you could tell he started to get a little bit more hunger for wrestling. And I'm very excited to watch him play both sports the next 2 years of his high school career.
A lot of similarities to Tristan in regards, because they've been with the program a similar amount of time, practice partners very often. And again, huge potential in them as junior and senior leaders moving forward. Seth is someone who's been willingly thrown to the fire a bit throughout his career. Was one of the heroes at state duels his freshman year, pulling up a big win when needed. Got thrown to the fire at the last second regional tournament his freshman year, and someone who is willing to do that extra stuff for the team, willing to put himself out there to do what's best for the more wrestling program, which is something very admirable.
Bienfei Shimwei, all right, sophomore, 126 pounds. Last year, wrestled but suffered a concussion right at the beginning of the year, so he didn't get a lot of time. This year, he had a full season under his belt, and he had some tough guys right around his weight class, and he had Harrison and Charlie, and then Malachi and Jakari. A lot of tough guys all in that area. But he found his spot, 6th at the city tournament this year, 4th at the Mel tournament, and placed 3rd at regionals. So BFA is a big time soccer player. He's awesome. Right? If you watch more soccer, you need to go watch him play. He's also a power lifter for me. Very strong, small guy, 126 pounds, very strong.
Love watching BFA wrestle. It was very nice to be able to see him finish out the year because he didn't really get a chance to shine his freshman year. Was wrestling very well against very tough opponents as a freshman prior to his concussion. And seeing this year, he finally started to open up and use his offense. Possibly one of the greatest athletes I have ever personally witnessed, watching him in soccer and in wrestling. And is developing a very good skill set to go along with his physical talents, and really stepped in following an injury to Harrison, and we barely lost a step behind him. Was able to step in as the next guy up and wrestle very, very well.
Tremaine Lovelace was a first-year wrestler, sophomore, 182 pounds. Probably started out, I believe, as around a 220. So he trimmed down. He was there every single day. Works very hard, asks a lot of questions. He does the learning outside the room. So I was surprised to learn when I would talk to him. He would start mentioning national level wrestlers, world level wrestlers, and I was like, wow, you're that much into it. So this is a guy that's got that hunger as far as learning the sport, which is done well for a lot of our younger guys, such as Charlie McCune, guys like that who really pay attention to not just what's going on at practice, but what's going on everywhere else as well.
Every once in a while, you kind of see that rookie that really buys into the love of the sport. And Tremaine was definitely that rookie that just bought into the love of wrestling. And as he continues to trim down, as he continues to work and build his body up, he already has the passion there. And so as the work will continue to build his ability as a wrestler, he's going to have a very fine career ahead of him.
Smile Ray, sophomore, 195 pounds. He's another one that trimmed down. So Smile had a good season this year. This is his first year as well. One thing I remember from Smile was he hit the nicest low single at the JV state tournament at the end of the year. So this is my first year meeting Smile. Come out unexpectedly a lot of the times. You know, we kind of recruit these guys. He stepped into the room, and I had never met him before. And he finished the season and did very well. Works very hard. Him and Tremaine are good practice partners, good buddies, best of friends. We look forward to 2 more years with Smile.
Yeah, I always love when I sit there and I'm trying to recruit kids in the lunchroom, and they go up to a kid like Smile and I go, "Hey, you should wrestle." And Smile just goes, "Sure, I'll do it." No hesitation, and really took that attitude with him on the mat, and was never someone I really worried about as he took his rookie lumps, as all rookies do. Smile just takes it with a smile. He goes, "I like wrestling and keep doing this."
Next sophomore is Tyler. Unfortunately, Tyler didn't make it to pitcher day, and we couldn't find him a pitcher to do him justice. Our pixelation was very low and horrible. 138 pounds, 8th at Gladiator, 8th at Jeff Classic. Had some good tournaments this year. Unfortunately, at the end of the year, got injured, so he wasn't able to finish like we wanted him to. Last year, he finished his season awesome at the South Odom Dragon, but injuries happen, and he didn't get to finish this season. Also a soccer player. Tyler's been with us since middle school, wrestled with us since, I think,
8th grade. No, 7th grade.
7th grade year. So he's been
No, 8th grade. I'm more.
8th grade?
Yeah.
8th grade, Tyler?
Yeah. Because he didn't wrestle for me. He wrestled the year after I was a middle school coach. So that would have been his 8th grade year. Been with the program a couple years. Like, especially, for example, last year at Dragon has shown flashes of the wrestler he can be. Unfortunately, wasn't able to finish out the year. But someone who does have potential to be a junior leader on the team because he's been with the program for so long and has shown those flashes of the type of wrestler that he is capable of being.
Zechariah Harlan. I don't have a photo of him as well. This was his first year. This is Jeremiah's brother. 170-pound weight class, finished in, trimmed down a little bit. He does not play soccer. That is an error right there. So Z, otherwise known as Z. Z did a good job his first year of wrestling. Bought in pretty good. and we've got one more year to really get him going. So we're hoping he steps up this year and takes on the challenge, and we can have a pretty decent senior year with him.
Was, again, said even before the school year started, yeah, sure, I'll wrestle. Jeremiah does it. And someone who, again, wasn't a worry. Showed up to practice, came in, did the work he was supposed to do. Didn't have to worry about, is Z going to show up to practice today? No, Z's going to be at practice. We don't have to worry.
On to our juniors, Ramon Perez. This is his second year wrestling. He finished out as our 195-pound wrestler. Fourth at the Derby City Classic. He had a very good tournament at the Mel tournament at the end of the year, placed third. Ramon is a very quiet guy, but a very hard worker. We've got one more year of him, and we're anxious to get him working, and we think he can have a very, very good senior year. He's been working behind some pretty tough wrestlers the last few years, so we know he's learned a lot from those guys.
Came out, I want to say he was a heavyweight his sophomore year, and it's trimmed down quite a bit. Good work ethic. Was one of the leaders of grade team when he was not able to wrestle with the Navy team because Jeremiah was in that 195 role before cutting down, and was a strong leader for that team, and then transitioned well into the Navy team after Jeremiah cut down, and someone who should have a very good senior year based off of his work ethic.
Harrison Terry came out his freshman year. It was having an awesome year, and then he had an injury occur halfway through the season, which sidelined him. But he finished fourth at the Raider Rumble. Second, had a very good tournament, Jeff Classic, finished second there. Fourth at the Valley Main Event. Harrison's also a soccer player. So Harrison's one of those kids who I knew kind of through old friends of mine. One of my good friends, his dad is his cousin, Harrison's dad. So I've been trying to get Harrison out since sixth grade, of course. He didn't listen to me, like a lot of them don't. And then they finally come out and they say, Coach, I wish I would have came out earlier. So you young guys who don't wrestle, if I tell you should wrestle, I'm right. You should wrestle. Everybody should. So listen. But he's having a great high school career. He put in a ton of work last summer. And it paid off big time this season. So he's got one more year left, and we think he's going to have a very good senior year.
Definitely someone we're looking at as that sort of senior leader going into next year. Again, as Coach Thomas said, was doing great, having a fantastic year, one of our best, and especially our most consistent wrestler. That's one of the things that we speak very highly of in regards to Harrison is his consistency, and he knows what he's good at, and he sticks to the things that he is good at. Had a lot of potential to finish the season off really well before getting hurt, but hopefully going into his senior year, he's able to reach that potential and potentially find himself on the podium next year.
Neil White has also been with us since sixth grade. So we've had a couple of wrestlers that are in running for a Michael Award. So he finished, he was a heavyweight this year, sixth at the Mel tournament. He had a very good JV state tournament, placed second there. Neil also does powerlifting with us. And next year he will be the only 7-year wrestler who graduates. We didn't have any 7-year wrestlers this year. So he'll be a 7-year guy. And he will receive the Michael Award.
Neil's been a staple of the Moore program for a long time. He was on the middle school team back when I was the coach, back in the 7th grade year, going into his senior year. Again, as we've said, has been a part of the Moore program for a long time. Stuck behind some very good wrestlers like Cody Melton, one of the best heavyweights in our program's history, and has had a lot of big shoes to fill and had a fantastic run at the JV state tournament. Just a really impressive run, and hopefully that ties into a good senior year.
Seniors 2020. So this is what we finished with, these 6 men and 1 woman. Allie Porter here. So we'll go ahead and introduce them. Jakari Speaks has been with us since he was a freshman. He was a 120-pound wrestler this year. 14-11 record, 5th at Jeff Classic, an outstanding tournament in Mel at the end of the year. Finished second there.
Finishes his career for winning record, and again had that fantastic finish at the male tournament.
Trin Jackson, 145 pounds. 21-14 record, third in pins on the team, third at the Jeff Classic, fifth at the city tournament, third at the male tournament, third at regionals, ninth all-time in takedowns, and was also a power lifter.
Trent has been with the program for a long time, coming out the summer between his 8th and ninth grade year, was a 4-time state qualifier, and has wrestled in 26, 32, 38, 45, 5 different weight classes throughout his career, which is not something you see very often. Finishes out with that winning record in the top 10 all-time for takedowns, which is impressive given the caliber of this program. Was always right at the edge of finishing on the podium. Made the round of 12 his sophomore year. Has had back and forth battles with some of the best in the state, including eventual state champion Ty Lemon, and has always been someone who has been very highly respected throughout the state for his ability.
Abel English, 138 pounds, forfeit the male tournament, forfeit regionals. And then one of my favorite memories of Abel this year is we wrestled Central High School at the regional sectionals at Moore, and that was a big dual meet for us. We were trying to qualify for the state duels, and Central is a tough duel. And Abel goes right out, takes the guy down, and sticks him right off the bat, and puts us in a good spot to win that duel. Like I said, finished fourth at the male tournament, qualified for state this year, finished fourth at regionals. When he won that qualifying match, the look on his face was, when these guys make state, it's great. When they know that they won that match they're in, awesome.
It was definitely the underdog going into the regional tournament. He was not seeded to make it to the state tournament, had previously lost to the Central wrestler he saw in the blood round. And basically, I remember I was coaching in the middle mat, and I look over, I see Abel hit a move I've never seen him hit before, but he puts the Central kid on his back, and he's going to the state tournament. One of those moments where it's great to see, again, that underdog who is doubted by the tournament seeding come through and make it to the state tournament.
Nate Wright, 170 pounds. All right. Nate came out his sophomore year. He was at J-Town, moved into Moore's resides area, so became a Moore student. Somebody had said he was wrestled at J-Town. I approached him, said he needs to come out for the team. And he came out and was immediately thrown into a group working a lot with Alex Rivera and Isaiah Newberry, so some of those guys. And then last year, had those guys as practice partners, and it showed this year. And did very well, but was kind of out of place. Wrestling a weight class up last season, got in where he could fit in type deal because of the caliber of wrestlers we had, but did awesome. And then this year stepped into his spot, had a 40-9 record, first in pins, first in takedowns, second at Jeff Classic, fifth at the GMVWA, first at the Valley Main Event, second at City Championships, first at the Mel Tournament, first at the Regional Tournament, and then finished fifth at State. 10th all-time in takedowns. Didn't come out to his sophomore year.
So the joke being that he was the last of the J-Town Chargers, a team well known for their takedowns. And in 3 years, Nate put himself to the top 10. Also was not pinned at all this year, which is a very rare accomplishment. Definitely sort of took out his frustrations over a very painful end to his junior year, getting ruled out with an injury at the last possible second. But came through, got his state medal, got some revenge on some rivals he'd been holding for a while, and definitely someone who had a lot of respect throughout the state. Coaches coming up and talked to me about, like, who's that one guy you got, that real dirty wrestler? Oh, you're talking about Nate Wright. Got to wrestle in the All-Star Classic, and hopefully will be able to continue his career at the next level.
Jeremiah Harlan, 182 pounds. Jeremiah came out his sophomore year as well. Finished this year for 27-10 record, third in takedowns. Placed seventh at the Raider Rumble, third at Jeff Classic. Won the city championship. He beat a wrestler that had previously beat him, and that was great. First at the Mel Tournament, first at regionals. He's also a football player and was also on the powerlifting team and won some powerlifting events for us as well.
Yeah, this year he finally got to sort of see the potential that we'd always known Jeremiah had. He finally especially after about halfway through his senior year. Finally starts to put it all together, especially at the city championship. Finally started to see him piece together all of those tangible abilities, including being one of the strongest wrestlers in the state, and finally putting it all together to have a very strong finish to his senior year, making it into the round of 12, uh, having a very close match in the quarterfinals to the eventual state runner-up, back and forth up until the third period.
Rudy Rojas, 220-pound wrestler, 14-12 record, first in escapes, eighth at the Jeff Classic, second at the Mel Tournament, second at regionals. So Rudy came out last year as a junior. He is also a football player this season, played football and did powerlifting. This was his first year doing powerlifting, did very well there as well.
Rudy was someone I told to come out his 8th grade year, but better late than never. Still had good accomplishments in the 2 years he did wrestle with the program. His junior year, he was stuck behind several very well-respected wrestlers in Alan Anderson and Cody Melton. And we knew going in that he was going to have that ability his senior year. He was the sort of kid that after every one of his matches, he'd immediately come over and ask, breathless, like, what could I have done better? What do I need to do better? What do I need to change to do better? Constantly, immediately wanting that sort of feedback regardless of the result of his match. Constantly wanting to improve, and was able to pull out a couple wins at state over kids who've been wrestling for a lot longer than he has.
Allie Porter, 220-pound weight class, 10-2 record. This was her first year. So we only had one returner, Maria Martinez. So this was Allie's first season. She approached me about wrestling, and then I said, go ahead. She came out there because she was in one of the upper weights. She got to wrestle the boys a lot in practice, which did well for her. All right, so it helped her get some practice partners who had more experience, and she had more success because of that. She was the Louisville Ladies City champion, and she finished second at the girls' state tournament.
Again, someone we spoke about earlier with the girls, was really a fantastic talent, very impressive. Usually because of the nature of the girls wrestling leading up into the state tournament, she would have to wrestle girl heavyweights quite often, girls far larger than her, and she would still beat them. Of her few losses, one of them was against a girl she beat 2 to 3 more times. Her only, of course, unavenged loss would be her state finals match.
And on to our 2020 awards. So we give out 4 awards a year. 4 awards we give out are Rookie of the Year Award, Most Improved Wrestler Award, 110% Award, which is our Mustang Award, and then our Most Outstanding Wrestler Award. So the wrestlers know there's only 4 of them. We don't do the seniors all get an award. A lot of times seniors get an award because those guys get the most experience, but that's not the deal. You earn it, you get it. All right? So, and occasionally we have a like last year, you had Isaiah Newberry and Alex Rivera. There was a Most Outstanding Wrestler. So occasionally that happens. So this year we're giving out 4 awards for the guys, and because this is our first year having a ladies team, the ladies will have 4 awards as well. And we will go ahead and start with the ladies first.
Our ladies rookie of the year was Ashley Zinka, coming out her summer before her freshman year. Didn't even go to middle school anymore, came to us from Olmsted. But in her first year as a wrestler, did very, very well, finished 3rd at the girls' state tournament, and again was the starter for the boys' team at 113, and earned that spot. Wrestled off a senior in order to win that spot.
Guys Rookie of the Year, Will Bowen, freshman, 132 pounds. We discussed Will earlier. One of the things that we recognized about Will, besides being ultra competitive, is he picked up very quick. We taught some kind of stable series this season, and he was on it and using those pinning combinations every match and getting lots of wins off of them. Stuff that sometimes, some people pick up a little quicker than others, but because of his competitiveness and his ability to pick up wrestling pretty quickly, he had an outstanding year. He had a winning record as a rookie, which is kind of tough to do. Most time guys who have never, or girls who have never wrestled, it's tough to pick up a winning record that first year because you're wrestling a lot of people with experience. So outstanding year. Men's Rookie of the Year, Will Bowen.
Good work ethic, super competitive, has a potential to break into the starting lineup next year in his second year, competing in, again, a very stacked area of our team, competing with the likes of Malachi, Bienfe, Charlie, and we look forward to seeing kind of how he will improve working with some of the best on our team.
So our next category is our 110% award, which is our Mustang Award.
It was a very hard choice for the ladies because of how many hard workers we had on our program. We ended up giving it to Alejandra, who had a very good attendance percentage. I want to say 86% attendance. And again, the story I tell of Alejandra, where scared to do the warm-up at the very start of her very first day of practice, but by the end of the season is up there with everybody else, doing everything she needs to do, and also someone who always asks questions, how can I improve? How can I do this? How can I be better? Constantly wanting that feedback to become the best wrestler she possibly can be.
I agree. I have Alejandra in class, great student. Watched her practice often. She would stay after and work with people. When we had open mats, she was there all the time. On top of that great attendance percentage. So we look forward to working with her the next 2 years. Our Men's Mustang Award, 110%, Charlie McHugh. And when we're going through these awards, as the wrestlers are watching, as you wrestlers are watching these awards, I would say just every time one of these people pop up, you're like, yeah, that's who I picked. And so if you know Charlie, he is constantly working. Right now, at this point in time, as me and Coach Rat are recording this, he's probably watching wrestling videos or even working out on a mat in his basement. He's probably working. He might be running a mile around the neighborhood. So after practice, he would stay after, and he does the extra. And we talk about it all the time. Coach Rat, what's your line about being a great wrestler?
We can make you a good wrestler, but being a great wrestler is a choice.
And so Charlie, as you can tell, like I said, he finished second in the state this year. He's made the choice, and we think he can stick with it. You know, people get older. He's only a freshman. Things change as you're a teenager, and you start to get into other things and whatnot. But he's on the right track. He's got a very bright future ahead of him, and the work ethic and that hunger. You could teach that a little bit, and I think working with Jesus kind of taught him that hunger, but it's very hard to teach. And we there's a lot of guys who we preach about doing more, and they just do what they do. But he's bought in, right? So next year, he could probably win this award again, but I would say he moves on to bigger things.
He's one of the few wrestlers I've ever had to actually tell him to tone it down sometimes, because of just how insanely he works. And it's something that the rest of the state takes notice of, where people in the state will look at me and they'll say, like, that kid wants to be there, that kid wants to wrestle. Saying they're getting slammed in the state quarterfinals on his head and shoulders, where most wrestlers would rightfully lay there a bit because you just got slammed on your neck illegally. But Charlie's the type of wrestler immediately popped back up to his feet and ran back to keep wrestling. And really that sort of stuff is unteachable. And that's kind of what the Mustang Award is about, is just the fact that Charlie himself would tell you that he's not the most athletic, he's not the most talented, but he's going to work harder than anybody else.
Next award is our Most Improved Award.
For the ladies was our second-year wrestler, Maria Martinez. And even not just from one year to the next, just the fact the way Maria was able to finish her year with some of the best wrestling I've ever seen from her. And she's someone I've told her constantly and will continue to tell her constantly. She has all the ability and talent already. All that she needs to do is execute on her talent that she already has. And it really shone through at the state tournament, becoming so extremely close to finishing on the podium. Was basically maybe a couple seconds away from securing a pin to go on in place. And someone who will be a very good leader for the girls team going into her senior year, and potentially someone who could win a girls state title.
Alex Rivera has helped her out a lot. So we can't wait until her senior year. we look forward to her leaving as another state player. For the guys, men's most improved, Jeremiah Harlan. All right, so Jeremiah, from like Coach said, not necessarily from one season to the next, which he did make big improvements. The record was way better this year. But if you look at the beginning of this season and the mistakes he was making, and then us working with him working after practice, whatnot, he cleaned up his wrestling, and he was beating guys at the end of the year that he was losing to at the beginning. Right, several very tough wrestlers. So this is a pretty easy choice for us for the most improved award.
One of those things, sort of like how we said with Charlie, how if you said at the start of the year that Charlie was going to be in the state finals, we wouldn't have believed you. If you had told us at the start of the year that Jeremiah was going to make the round of 12 and be a city champion, we probably wouldn't have believed you. But Jeremiah was someone who had that desire, had made that choice. He wanted to be a great wrestler, and he cleaned up the things that he needed to really put himself right at the edge there in a back and forth match again with the guy that eventually was the state runner-up and was finally understanding his strength and how to utilize his strength instead of wrestling like a robot by the end of his senior year. And it wasn't really a question in my mind who to choose as the men's most improved, because like we say, it's not just from one year to the next, it's as you improve throughout the season as well.
Next one is our most outstanding wrestler award.
For the ladies, it was easy. Our state runner-up, Allie Porter, who in her first year was beating girls who had been wrestling for not only longer than her, but also, again, by nature of the numbers at girls wrestling right now, she had to wrestle up at heavyweight several times. Was definitely not someone who, despite me constantly telling her that she had the ability to win the girls' state title, it was not something that she truly realized until winning her semifinals match, which was a good moment for the girls' wrestling program history, where Allie wins a hard-fought match against, you can see the girl there in third, the Madison Southern girl, very talented wrestler, beats her in a close match, and just immediate bawling tears as sort of that realization hits that I am as good as everybody is saying I am.
And for our guys, Nate Wright. We showed his record, his accomplishments earlier. Nate, it was great seeing his finish this season. Said last year, the night before the regional tournament, his junior year, he was ruled out, had a knee injury. So actually the morning of, it was officially ruled out by the doctors at the regional tournament. Said his knee's too swollen, can't wrestle, needs to go to the doctor. So that put a damper on his season last year, but he leaves as an all-state wrestler. Had an outstanding season. That fifth place match was one of his best matches of the year. All right, so he saved his best for last and left with his head high there.
Was someone who, coming in as a sophomore, we knew the potential he had in him. And what a lot of people forget is he did not have a good start to his junior year. I think he went 2-0 at GMVWA his junior year. And it took a lot of talking and convincing for him to sort of realize what choices need to be made to be that great wrestler. And he didn't always make the right choices, but when it came down to it, when the time came down to be good or be great, he was able to finish out with that decision, I'm going to be a great wrestler, and finished out his career in a way that I'm happy with, and I'm sure Nate's happy with as well.
And on to our 2020 college wrestling signing. So, occasionally have a few kids that decide to go on to college wrestling. Sometimes kids would rather not, and that's fine. They've got the talent, but they want to do other things. These three wrestlers have chosen to go to college and continue their education and to also wrestle. First one is Allie Porter.
It's going to compete for the ladies team at the University of the Cumberlands for Coach Stevens, someone I have a lot of respect for. Talked to Coach Stevenson's wife at the girls' state tournament. She was very nervous to do so, but talked to her and should have a very promising career with the girls' program at Cumberlands.
Our second signee is Trin Jackson at Midway University.
Someone that the coaches at Midway would talk to me a lot about how they wanted Trent, and we'll see if Trent is able to reach those achievements in college that sometimes one might miss in high school, especially at like the NAIA level. You'll find a lot of wrestlers like Trent that didn't get to finish their senior year they would have liked. But if you continue that hard work and continuing that understanding of what my college coach used to call the process, if you follow the process, then I've seen many, many successful college wrestlers finish as All-Americans, even if they've never placed at the high school tournament.
Third signee, Jeremiah Harlan, Midway University.
I believe Jeremiah is officially signing today. Someone else who is also had constantly had the midway coaches asking me about like, hey, where's Jeremiah going? What does Jeremiah want to do? Does Jeremiah want to play football? Or does he want to wrestle for us? So someone who, if he continues that improvement we saw through his senior year, could very easily within a couple years make it to an All-American status at Midway.
So congrats to those three wrestlers who will go on to continue their education, most importantly, and be able to continue playing athletics, sports. All right. So as far as our awards go, that is all. We're going to say our thanks, talk about off-season training, which is stay tuned. All right, we got to see wrestlers. A lot of those wrestlers are training at home. We'll send you some workouts to do at home. But as far as us getting into the room, we are waiting on the KHSAA to let us know when we can do that. And as soon as they give us the clear, we will be in there a couple of times, 2 to 3 times a week, trying to catch up with the time we have missed. But hopefully this time you've taken, I try to talk to the guys about watching video, learn, right? Of course, being physically active in wrestling is the best. But a lot of our better wrestlers, they are watching video of other wrestlers, college wrestlers, world level wrestlers. And that's how they are coming in and making improvements, right? So they're consuming all this wrestling. And then when they get in the room, they're kind of trying some new things they may have learned, not from us. All your learning is not going to be from your coaches. Right? So you're going to have to supplement and find learning elsewhere to be the best that you can be. So stay tuned for off-season training. As soon as we're able to, we'll be doing that. Make sure if you're watching this, you like us on Facebook. We almost got 2,000 likes right there. Got about 10 more left, I think. Like us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter. A lot of our stuff is thrown there. We got a website. We'll put our records and stuff like that. But a lot of our results, if you're paying attention during the winter, we're at a tournament. If you're paying attention to Twitter and whatnot, you're going to see our results of that day, Instagram. Parents, support, join the Booster Club. Tell others about our program. All right, so this is the high school awards for men's and ladies. But we have a middle school team, so those students wrestling more or attending more can wrestle for our middle school team. And then we also have an elementary school program. So anybody in Louisville can wrestle for our elementary school program. Special thanks, Booster Club, including Secretary Brittany Wise, Coach Chris's wife, Dana Taylor, our treasurer, and our president, Audra Pleasant. So these three ladies, especially Audra and Dana, have done a lot for our program over the past few years. And they do not have kids in the program, but still lend their time to help us raise funds and do the things we do. We get to do a lot of traveling on the high school side. We go to Dayton, Ohio, whatnot, Cincinnati, and that costs money. So we have to raise funds. So we're very fortunate to have people involved who will help us raise funds so we can do those things. New View Bar and Grill, shout out to them. We hold the Queen of Hearts there. Hopefully that'll start back up. So that's a fundraiser we do once a week. I'll post a link on this video so you can go check that out and hopefully help us out there. So playing the Queen of Hearts, you got a chance to win money. At the same time, the money that you put into that goes to our wrestling program. So win-win. Line Drive Photography for the photos. Rec Bar, my brother Tony Thomas. They've done a lot for our program over the years, donating sponsorships, all that good stuff. Robbie Isbell and Isabel Brothers Air Conditioning. Right, so Robbie has donated money to our program. He's a More Wrestling alumni. It's been a lot of alumni that have donated money. When I asked for a few bucks for track wrestling money or something like Matt Boss or something like that, I'll have guys they'll send me a few dollars to help support us. Paint parties, Tracy Castor, Monica Thomas, another fundraiser we do, raises a lot of money for us. My mother, Monica. And then all our parents and families, specifically, I don't say your name, I apologize, but the two I do want to thank is um, Enrique Terry, Harrison's father, and Kyle McCune. We spent a lot of time last summer taking these kids as far as to Texas to get wrestling it that far, and who helped us with the carpools more than anybody. Those guys are constantly the carpool. We'd go stay in Ohio. Those guys would drive, help us get there, stay the night. So those parents helped out a ton. And then we also had the wrestling program. We got Tim Gentry here as our athletic director. Falk was our principal up until halfway through the school year, and then Miss Morris took over, and she's done great with us. We like her. But all these people, parents and families, managers, alumni, that's what makes us a wrestling program. Right? So a lot of teams, they're just wrestling teams. They got a coach and they got some wrestlers. We're fortunate to have a wrestling program. Right? So there's a lot of people involved in making this thing successful, all the way down through the elementary school program, and then even our contacts over at Smyrna, those teachers that help us there for Moore Elementary Wrestling League, and Lower and Hartstern and Willard Elementary. All those people, what's make us a wrestling program. Big shout out to Missy Sullivan, donated a good amount of money to get the girls their uniforms this year. All right, so that was awesome. She's an alumni of Moore. And then, of course, my wife and my family. All right, so being a coach, you got to have a supportive wife because it takes a lot of time. A lot of time. Coach Wright, anybody you want to thank?
No, you thanked everybody.
I thanked them all for you.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to put some links to some of these sponsors in the link to the video on YouTube and Facebook and whatnot. Please support our sponsors. Please go to our pages, like our pages, and just pay attention. If you're elementary school wrestling parent, middle school have a banquet soon, a virtual awards. But pay attention to our social media, and we will let you know ASAP when it's going to be time to get back on the mats. All right, so we're all anxious. We're ready to go. Fortunately, we are a winter sport, so we've got a little bit more time. We're not, fall sports are freaking out a little bit, but we'll be okay. So everything will work out. We'll be back on the mats before you know it. Any last words, Coach Ray?
Keep working, and congratulations to everyone that got their awards today.
Yes, congrats, wrestlers. Can't wait to see you guys and girls. When we get this cleared up a little bit, we're going to have a cookout at my new house. See ya.